This is the Maybrick Scandal. The murder of James Maybrick, the conviction of Florence, and Jack the Ripper. Florence Maybrick was convicted of her husband's murder in 1889. She was accused of poisoning James Maybrick with arsenic. But what really happened? Florence grew up in Alabama in the United States, and she married Liverpudlian James Maybrick, a wealthy cotton trader, when the couple met on a White Star Line boat from New York City to Liverpool. Florence found Liverpool in the northwest of England not unlike the American Deep South, and she was welcomed there with open arms by the locals. The Maybricks made Battle Crease House their home, and were quite happy for some time before Maybrick mysteriously became sick and his health declined rapidly. He died a painful death, and 3 days after, his brother, who was suspicious, called the police, insisting that Florence had poisoned his brother and that foul play was most certainly involved in this death. If this was true, what was the motive? Well, Florence was having an affair with another cotton merchant who was considerably younger than James. But let's be fair, James was no saint. He himself had a mistress, and Florence discovered this. She also discovered that her hubby had 5 illegitimate children scattered up and down the nation. Chester, Liverpool, London, Manchester. He had children all over the country. So, what happens? Well, Florence is reported to the police. She is put on trial in 1889, and this was big news and a grand spectacle in 19th century Victorian England. Members of the public rushed to court to hear the verdict as it was announced live. But was she really guilty? Let's look at the facts. Maybrick was a frequent drug taker, and he used arsenic, pills, various potions. But days before his death, Florence was spotted, she was caught red-handed, soaking flypapers in water. So that's not a good look for Florence. She was originally sentenced to death upon being found guilty, but this was overturned by the Home Secretary, and she was instead given life imprisonment. Queen Victoria continued to prevent her release. She was very ruthless and unsympathetic. After 15 years of jail, and after Queen Victoria finally died, she was free. Supposedly Queen Victoria was so horrified by the case that she went out of her way to constantly prevent Florence's release. She was horrified by this. She seemingly thought that Florence was a stain upon the female sex, and she made the female sex look bad. Florence was free, And when she was released from prison, she briefly spent time in the care of nuns in a convent in Cornwall before returning to the land of the free, the United States of America. And her miserable life ended in a shack in Connecticut at the age of 80. Um, and she was she never seemed to be able to prove her innocence in life. But the Maybrick story doesn't end here. A diary supposedly written by this chap, this suspicious looking gentleman with the bowler hat, a diary supposedly written by him, contained a signed confession. Was Maybrick Jack the Ripper? Well, this diary says he was. Was it real? Was it fake? Who knows? But he does remain today one of the most believable suspects in the Whitechapel case. So, if Florence was guilty, she potentially killed one of the most notorious serial killers. So, if she was guilty, maybe she's a heroine. Who knows? Is she a good person for poisoning Jack? Was James really Jack? I mean, we can't really prove any of this. We can't have a definitive conclusion on any of this. It happened so long ago. But it's a fascinating story nonetheless. We can speculate. Who knows?